Hey, is this thing on? Oh, this thing is on? Okay. What is up, y'all? Welcome back. Pitchside with Parker. It has been a minute, and I am so happy to be back in an all-new setup. Look at this place. Look at this camera quality. Oh man, you don't know how excited I am. I mean, you probably do. You can see it. But if this doesn't deserve a like, a thumbs up for this new setup that we got going on, I don't know what does. So go ahead and smash a like button before we even get into this video. You know what you're here for. Champions League is starting today. The knockout stage is the round of 16. And I'm here to break it all down. I'm going to give my predictions on every single tie and talk about which teams I think are the front runners, which teams I think might be in for a rude awakening in the round of 16. So plenty to get into, plenty to break down. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first game on the cards is one of the best of the entire round of 16, and that is PSG versus Barcelona. The intrigue of this game may have taken a little bit of a blow now that Neymar has been ruled out, at least for the first leg, possibly for the second leg. We're not exactly sure yet, but in any case, this should still be a really, really good game. No, we don't get quite that Neymar redemption/revenge story that we would have had going on, but in any case, this is going to be a great tie because obviously we all know what PSG brings to the table. Champions League finalists last year, and even without Neymar, they've been without him plenty. He gets hurt every year around this exact time for the most part. March 11th, which also happens to be a certain Rafaela's birth. You know, I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm gonna just leave that one to y'all. The point is, PSG know how to operate without Neymar. Of course, they've still got Mbappe. Of course, they've still got Kimpembe and Marquinhos at the back. They're a brilliant team. Barca, on the other hand, they've actually been playing really well recently. Now, if you are familiar with the channel, you will know that Vic, who was always in the Champions League videos last year, he's a big Barca fan, and so I talk a lot of Barca with him. And Barca have actually been kind of figuring some stuff out recently. They did face a little setback of their own in terms of injuries with Araujo going down as a center back, so that will obviously hurt the chances of stopping Mbappe, but they've got enough going forward, and they're in good enough form right now that I think they could seriously put up a fight here against PSG. Griezmann is playing out of his skin right now, and Messi. I don't know if you saw his 2 goals against Alaves, but oh my goodness, Messi at his finest. I mean, there's really nothing else you can say about it. You kind of run out of words to describe him at some point. I think a lot of Barca fans are definitely worried about this. To me, they almost seem more worried than I am as kind of a more neutral observer, because I'm thinking, okay, Barcelona are playing pretty well, but the reality is that Ronald Koeman has not shown up great in big games this season. He's made some questionable decisions, and unfortunately, Barcelona have lost on the big stage a few times this year. They haven't played well in El Clasico. They lost the cup final to Atletico Bilbao recently as well. So there are some questions about Koeman's management coming into this, and that will be a very interesting matchup as well, going up against, of course, Pochettino in his first run through the Champions League with PSG, which we know really is kind of everything to them. So fascinating tie, but if I had to predict it, I am just going to slightly edge it to Barca. I really do think that Neymar being out makes a huge difference to PSG. Don't get it twisted. He is the best player. We saw it last year during the Champions League. He carried them to that final. He carried Barca in 2015. He shows up in these stages, and they are really, really going to miss him. I think 3-2 Barcelona advance over 2 legs. The next matchup, which is also today, is Liverpool versus Leipzig. Now, when this first came out, we were thinking, okay, semi-finalists from last season in Leipzig, a team in Liverpool who obviously won it the year before. You know, this should be a very good Champions League knockout stage matchup. But unfortunately, right now, Liverpool are just in the dumps. All their center backs are out. They've got new guys. They've got academy guys. It's just a mess in there. Kabak made his debut at the weekend. Not great. Alisson's been looking really shaky, which certainly hasn't helped things. I mean, it's gotten to a point with Liverpool where the injuries to the center backs are starting to affect the rest of the team. Jordan Henderson and Fabinho having to constantly play center back this season has definitely hurt the midfield as well, because you've got more attack-minded players who have had to play a lot more defense. They've had to play Milner a lot more this year. It's just been an overall kind of lack of creativity from the offense. I think people also underestimate how much guys like Van Dijk really added to the offense, not only with his long passing, which was great, but also the fact that he provided so much cover for Trent and for Robertson when they would come up the flanks, and those two have also been far less effective this season. So Liverpool haven't been looking great. But on the other side, Leipzig, they are second in Bundesliga right now. They've been on decent form recently. However, their big struggle this season has been up top. So these are two teams whose weaknesses kind of go up against each other, and it's tough to think how this will play out. Leipzig's solution often is to play with a false nine, really basically just like 6 center mids. They kind of play that old Spain formation where, they get their wingbacks forward a lot, but it's kind of like a 4-6, and the 6 center mids kind of just go everywhere, interchange. You got Forsberg and Kuku, Danny Olmo, Campos, Sabitzer. I mean, they've got a lot of quality players, but none of them are really a number 9. So I think this could end up being actually a really boring tie, because when you think about the way these two teams play, it's going to be a lot of high pressing, just waiting for mistakes to happen, and then just bombing up the flanks and trying to spam crosses. Like, I kind of think that these two teams will almost like just bash heads with each other. And so in the end, I think this is going to be a really close tie, but I would just slightly edge it to Liverpool simply because I believe in their experience. I believe in their front line to get a decisive goal a lot more than I do Leipzig's. Even with the current state of Liverpool's back line, I just can't quite see Leipzig advancing in the UCL this year. On to Wednesday's games, and the first game I'm going to talk about is probably one of my favorite matchups in the round of 16, and that's Sevilla versus Dortmund. This season I have watched a lot of Dortmund. I will say I haven't watched a whole lot of Sevilla outside of their group stage games, but one thing that I can tell you from watching Dortmund is that every game they play in this year is interesting. They could be up 4-0 and the game is not over. They could be down 3-0 and the game is not over. There's only one guarantee, which is that you're probably not going to get a 0-0. And so that is exciting. And that's good news, especially against Sevilla, who's a team that historically, in the knockout rounds, they can be a little bit of a boring team to watch. They really set up defensively. And look, it's a strategy that works for them. They won the Europa League last year. Their record in the Europa League is remarkable. He who shall not be named had a lot of success there winning the Europa League. But also, they've got the squad to do it. They've got really, really talented defenders. They got Diego Carlos, Jules Koundé back there. Koundé has been on a madness recently, even scoring goals. He did in the group stage, and he scored one recently. Nice goal in La Liga as well. And Nasiri has been on fire this year. They signed Papu Gomez in January as he wanted out of Atalanta. They've got some dynamic pieces, and I think they could... Well, it doesn't take much to cause Dortmund a lot of trouble these days defensively, but they certainly have the pieces to do it. So will Haaland and company, Sancho, all those guys be able to overcome this? In my opinion, I hate to say it, but I don't think they will. I've watched enough Dortmund this season to firmly not believe in them. And as much as I'd love to see them turning around to make a run in the Champions League, I just don't think they have it in them right now. Defensively, they're too frail, and I expect Sevilla to be a much smarter team in this game, and I think they advance to this fixture. Okay, so Juve drew Porto. Do I really need to say much about this fixture? Yeah, Juve's going to absolutely rinse them. I don't see any hope for Porto in this. Really, the only thing I can see coming out of this is Ronaldo getting momentum, which is bad for everybody else. Yes, Juve have not been fantastic this year, but this really should not be a problem for them. I think Juventus win this comfortably, 3 or 4 goal margin over 2 legs. On to a more exciting matchup. Let's talk about Atletico versus Chelsea. Now, this game is going to pique the interest of a lot of people. The Diego Costa derby, if you will. The Felipe Luis derby, if you will. The Fernando Torres derby, if you will. A lot of players who have played for both. This is going to be a huge game for Thomas Tuchel. My friend, you are not playing Sheffield United. You are not playing Newcastle. Yes, you looked good against them. You scored a couple goals. You kept some clean sheets. Fantastic. You kept the ball a lot. Fantastic. Guess who doesn't care how much possession you have? Diego Simeone. I feel like Chelsea right now are that kid in the class where they've been doing all the practice tests, but they only did the easy questions. And when it got to the ones where like you really had to work out the problem, you really had to show your work, they were like, I know how to do it. I'll be fine when we get to the real test. Atletico Madrid is going to show up, and they're going to punch them in the teeth. I personally don't think that Chelsea has it in them to respond to that. The issue is that because the system is so new with Tuchel, it looks great when everything is going well. But like I said, when you get punched in the face, how do you react? Over the past few years, Chelsea have not shown a lot of mettle in that regard, and it's especially hard when you are learning a new system. When something breaks down and you don't have that experience of how can we fix these problems, it becomes really difficult. it becomes all on the coach. Tuchel in the Champions League has not had the greatest run of things. Yes, last year he did very well with PSG, but that team had a lot more talent than this Chelsea team, in my opinion. And I just don't think that they can get past Atletico Madrid. Look, Suarez found the perfect place. He's gone to a place where he can be as much of an asshole as he wants. And that is exactly what Luis Suarez needs. Joao Felix is just blossoming in front of everybody's eyes, and I see this being a run for Atletico that does not stop after they beat Chelsea. It may not stop in the next couple rounds after that. I think genuinely that Joao Felix will lead this team. He will have some iconic moments, and this will be that point where he starts going into that upper echelon. The guys who perform in Champions League, the guys who have those moments on their record. He is just a young superstar, and I think between he, Mbappe, and Haaland, I see Felix going the furthest in this, and to his compatriots, I think he will leave a much bigger mark on the competition this year. So I'll pick Atletico to go through past Chelsea. I don't know how the hell Bayern drew Lazio in this, but if you needed any more evidence that there's some funny business between the people who own Bayern and every competition that they operate in, there you go. They probably got the easiest draw, maybe besides Juve. I don't think they'll be concerned about this game at all. Really, the only question is, will they be resting players by the second leg or not? I think they take care of business quickly in this one, and they pretty much just watch everyone else suffer and see who they're going to draw in the next round. Like, I just don't see any way that Bayern lose this. They're just an unstoppable force. Like, when you're a kid, they tell you to believe in miracles, and I'm sure that that's what Lazio are thinking, but Bayern are the people who tell their kids that miracles are not true, and they're the people that squash them out and don't let them happen. So I think Bayern get through this one pretty easily, and really not a whole lot to say about this. Finally, 2 more sets of games. This will be the final game week, which is next Wednesday, and we'll start with Atalanta versus Real Madrid. I think this has the potential to be one of the most exciting ties of the round of 16. This one is very hard for me to call. I went back and forth on it a few different times as I was preparing for this. Atalanta have had a pretty inconsistent season. They did make it to the Coppa Italia final, so they still have that on the horizon. They're only 6th in the league right now, though, so I do think that will actually help them put a lot of importance on this Champions League. Of course, we all know what Real Madrid have done in the Champions League. We all know that they are built for this kind of stage, and they have performed very well in a lot of big games this season. You know, I mentioned with Barcelona how Barca struggled against Madrid. Madrid showed up in that. They absolutely bossed Atletico in the Madrid derby this year. I think it rings true a lot of times when you have a team with older players who are very experienced. Maybe they can't bring it night in and night out, but when it really matters, look at the final game day of the group stage of the Champions League. People were saying Real Madrid could get knocked out of the group stage. This was unheard of. I mean, you're talking riots would be happening in Madrid the next day. They just rolled their sleeves up, went to work. They knew exactly what they had to do, absolutely put away Gladbach in that final game. So because this is such a close matchup, and this is one that I'm finding very difficult to separate these two teams, I do think it'll go down to the wire. I think potentially this could be the game where maybe you see an 80th, 90th minute winner, the most level of drama. Maybe it goes to extra time, but I do think Real Madrid just edge it in the end. That being said, I don't think they're going to make it much further than this. Spoiler alert, if I do make another video later, I don't have a lot of faith in Real Madrid down the line in this year's Champions League, but I do think they will have just enough to get past Atalanta. Last but most certainly not least, Borussia Mönchengladbach taking on Manchester City. We're talking about a Gladbach team who are 7th in the Bundesliga and have had a real rocky campaign there this season, versus Manchester City, who are now 1st in the Premier League, starting to separate themselves from the rest of the pack after a slower start to the season. But this City team is just looking dangerous right now. They're still without Sergio Aguero. They've lost Kevin De Bruyne, and somehow they look better. Gundogan has been genuinely, I think he's been the best player in the Premier League. Certainly over the last 2 months, but maybe over the course of the season if we really look at it. Certainly since De Bruyne has been out, he has not skipped a beat. He's moved into a more advanced role, and he's just absolutely thriving. And Phil Foden. Look, y'all know how I feel about Saka, and those two get compared a lot. They get thrown around a lot. Those are the 2 best young English talents in my book, and it's not particularly close. Foden, I love watching him play. He's done so well at the false 9 when he's been asked to play that. He also plays a little bit out wide. Gundogan, Sterling, the way that they've been combining and the stuff that they've been playing, brilliant. And at the other end of the pitch, City's been really good as well. Even with Ruben Diaz out, Laporte came back in the last game, looked great against Tottenham. John Stones has been in wonderful form this season. Cancelo is playing like number 10 and right back at the same time. I mean, this team is just... Pep he's got the wheels turning right now. You know how I feel about Pep in the Champions League. I think he starts to overthink things a little too much. And when this tie first came out, my first thought was, I am jumping on Gladbach, because Gladbach have the exact profile of teams that beat Manchester City in the Champions League, teams that Pep have lost to. You think about the Monaco team, you think about Tottenham, you think about Lyon. These are teams who were kind of young upstart teams. They had a lot of players who were so good for them that they ended up going on to bigger things. They were teams that were in the midst of wonderful runs, and I kind of feel that about this Gladbach side. They miraculously made it out of that group when nobody thought that they would. You know, over the past year or so, they've even flirted with the top of the Bundesliga table when Bayern have been messing around a little bit. This team really does, I think, fit that profile of a team that could cause City some problems, but I just think that City's form is just too good right now. I don't think Pep's getting off the hook. I still don't really believe in him, and I need to be convinced about otherwise. You know, I think he could come out with some crazy lineup and play like 3 defensive mids for no reason against Gladbach, and you know, we're sitting there wondering, why did he do that? But assuming that he maybe saves his bottle job for a slightly later round of this year's Champions League, I do think that City will get through this. So that'll do it for my Champions League preview. Leave your thoughts in the comment below. Who are your Champions League favorites this year? I'd still have to say that it's Bayern Munich, but City are making a case. And for me, I think Atletico just might be able to reach the final this season. In terms of dark horses, I actually really do like Sevilla's odds this year. I think that they're going to beat Dortmund, and who knows where the draw will take them, but I do really like what Sevilla could bring to this competition. And man, I'm just excited for Champions League to be back. I'm excited to be in this new place. So if y'all wouldn't mind giving a little extra support on this video, like it if you haven't already, although I'm sure that you already did. And stay tuned, because I'm going to be dropping so much content. I mean, we're talking daily content on this channel going forward. I am really ready to dive deep into this. I am really ready to start taking this YouTube more seriously, and it's gonna look like it now that I'm not recording in my freaking car. But anyway, stay on the lookout for a lot more videos. Be sure you got them post notifications turned on, because there will be a lot more to come. And you know, follow me on the socials, all that good stuff, and I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.